Do you think the Panthers, the Carolina Panthers, have one of the 100 best players in the NFL?
Ooh.
Top 100. I'm not saying top 10. I'm saying top 100 players in the NFL.
It shouldn't feel like that difficult of a clubhouse to break into.
It shouldn't, but it is. Last year, the Panthers had none. By the way, this is all stemming from the NFL Top 100. It's revealed by the NFL Network, but it is voted on by players, right? So the players get to vote. They fill out their ballots, and then the NFL and NFL Network reveal the top 100 players each year. Last year, the Panthers had 0. There was one player that earned their way onto the list while a Panther, Brian Burns, because obviously everything prior to last year he was a Panther, but he was on the New York Giants for last season. So there were no Panthers. This year, I'm going to prepare everybody. I don't expect there to be any Panthers again. They've already revealed, they're doing, I think, 2 a day. They've revealed numbers 86 through 100. Derrick Brown and J.C. Horn, to me, are the only 2 options that the Panthers have who potentially might be on the list, and they are not in that 86 to 100 way. So I'm like, I don't know if I would expect them to be anything but in the 90s, and they aren't in the 90s. Derrick Brown was a snub last year, I believed, and he didn't really play this past year, so I doubt he got better on the rankings. J.C. Horn played very, very well, got paid very, very well. I don't see him being a top 80 player the way they vote. So I'm not just bringing this up just to bash the Panthers. I'm bringing this up so we can all set expectations accordingly. Do you remember, I'm going to give you a Carolina Hurricanes crossover event here. Do you remember at the end of the year, we saw all of the voting for the end of the year all-star teams for the NHL? And the Canes had essentially none. Well, they had none of the actual all-stars. In the voting, all they had was Jacob Slavin anywhere in the voting. And he was 8th or 9th amongst defensemen. Like, he wasn't even really in the mix to be named to one of the 2 teams. And because of that, there was this groundswell, and we were a part of it, saying, why are people mad, or why was anybody calling for Rod Brindamore's job for not winning the Cup or not winning the Eastern Conference Finals when the voting says he had no good players or no great players? He had nobody that played at an all-star, all-pro level, and he still made it to the Eastern Conference Finals. That's incredible. Adjust your expectations. Now, you hope Ehlers and Miller unlock something in Aho and others, and then now next year you'll have a whole bunch and you can get over that hump. But if you don't have the players, if you don't have the stars, it's really hard to win in professional sports. Going into this season, I believe the players who voted for the NFL Top 100 are telling us the Panthers don't have a dude. Or at least they don't have somebody who's played like a star up until now. There might be potential stars, but they aren't there yet.
Like a potential star that I think of right off the top of my head is Chuba Hubbard. Earned the contract extension, was one of the bright spots of the offense last year.
But think about how good he'd have to be a top 100 player at a running back. Right? You have to be He'd have to catch 500 yards, and that's not his game, right? Because if you look at the best running backs in the league, you're either Derrick Henry running for 2,000 yards, or you're Saquon Barkley running for 2,000 yards and catching out of the backfield, or you're somebody like Jahmyr Gibbs or Bijan Robinson that gets it done on the ground and through the air, and they're not going to have, like, you only get 100 names in the top 100. You're not going to have 15 running backs.
And essentially he'd have to be putting himself in MVP conversation.
Yes, you'd have to be in the MVP conversation as a running back to make it. At least, like the bottom to be considered is like Gibbs and Robinson. That's what I'm looking at. So I think Derrick Brown could be a top 5 defensive tackle if he finds his way to rush the passer better. I think J.C. Horn could be a top 5 corner if he continues to stay healthy and gets his hands on the ball more to force turnovers. That's how you get a top 100 player. That's one of the only ways to get a top 100 player. So if looking at Dave Canales is going to do everything he can to win games. He's going to be doing so without the benefit of that superstar that you can just bank on. right? He's going to be doing so without that superstar that you can just say, well, that guy's going to be one of the best in the league as long as they're healthy. And other teams, other players, other GMs, they have the benefit of, like, Myles Garrett's the top edge rusher on the ESPN list. He'll be in the top 100. The Browns coaches just get to go, boom, we got 15 sacks right there and a whole bunch of quarterback pressures. I don't know if anybody is that obvious for the Panthers, and that's going to be a bummer.